Welcome, dedicated associate, to the vibrant world of Splash Zone Water Park. By adhering to these 6 essential guidelines, you'll ensure a safe and enjoyable environment for our valued guests, even during the tranquil hours of park closure. Your cooperation is paramount to maintaining the Splash Zone standard of excellence.
My name is Cody Miller. For 2 years, I've walked these concrete paths. The constant scent of chlorine, a perpetual companion, the echo of phantom laughter clinging to the empty slides. I used to be a lifeguard, drawn to the water, the sun, the simple joy of keeping people safe. But a diving accident, a moment of misplaced confidence, left me with a permanent tremor in my hands and a fear of the deep that still clutched my chest. My dreams of heroism dissolved into the mundane reality of minimum wage and the quiet shame of a career cut short. I needed a job away from the crowds, away from the expectations. Splash Zone offered the night shift, a solitary vigil of cleaning, chemical checks, and patrol, perfect for a ghost like me, haunted by the whispers of what could have been. The park itself, a monument to vibrant manufactured joy, became something else after sunset. The cheerful primary colors faded into oppressive shadows, the constant whir of pumps and filters transforming into a rhythmic, almost hypnotic drone. The mascots, Barnaby the bear and Shelley the seahorse, usually beaming with plastic smiles, stood frozen in their poses, their unblinking eyes seeming to follow my every movement. Ms. Lena Hayes, the park's night supervisor, a woman whose eyes held the weary wisdom of too many quiet hours and whose smile rarely touched them, handed me a laminated card on my first night. It wasn't a schedule. It was a list of rules, 6 of them. Rules, she said, were essential for the unique operational parameters of our nocturnal environment. Her voice was flat, devoid of the corporate cheer of the park's training videos. "They're not suggestions, Cody," she'd rasped, her gaze sweeping across the darkened park. "They are absolute. Your continued presence here depends on them. And never, ever forget that the water remembers." I scoffed, superstitious ramblings of a tired old woman. But as I read through the surprisingly detailed, almost ritualistic instructions etched onto the worn plastic, a cold dread began to seep into my bones. This wasn't just about safety. This was about something else, something in the water.
Your safety and the structural integrity of our attractions are paramount. Therefore, guideline number 1 stipulates never, under any circumstances, deviate from the marked path of the lazy river. This attraction is designed for optimal flow and guest enjoyment. Any departure from its designated course can result in operational disruptions and may compromise your personal well-being.
Ms. Hayes's clarification: the current isn't just taking you around, it's taking you in. The river has its own memory, its own flow. To leave its path is to fall outside its intended cycle, and it doesn't like loose ends. My first week, I strictly adhered to this, treating the lazy river as a sacred boundary. I'd patrol its perimeter, checking the water levels, clearing stray leaves. But one night, a bright red beach ball, emblazoned with the smiling face of Shelley the seahorse, floated lazily just outside the river's plastic barrier, caught in a small eddy near the deserted snack stand. It was far enough to be a deviation, a simple step over the edge. It felt harmless, a misplaced toy. A child would miss it. Against guideline 1, I leaned over the barrier, reaching for the ball. As my fingers brushed the slick plastic, the water in the lazy river stirred. Not a ripple from the pump, but a deep, internal swell, a silent gathering force. The smiling Shelley on the ball seemed to stretch, her eyes widening, her cheerful grin morphing into a silent gaping maw. A whisper, too faint to be a sound, yet too clear to be ignored, brushed against my mind. Join us. Forever fun. No more worries. I recoiled, yanking my hand back. The water in the river settled. Shelley's smile returned to normal, but for a fleeting second, the red beach ball seemed to pulse, a faint, rhythmic beat against the plastic. I left the ball. I walked away, the phantom whisper of forever fun lingering in my ears. The water, I realized, wasn't just in the park. It was of the park.
Our beloved mascots, Barnaby the Bear and Shelley the Seahorse, are integral to the Splash Zone experience, symbolizing joy and endless summer. Guideline number 2 dictates, always ensure the mascot statues positioned around the park are consistently facing the main entrance, welcoming all who enter. Their orientation is crucial for maintaining the park's harmonious energy flow.
Ms. Hayes's clarification. If they're not looking at the entrance, they're looking at something else, or something moved them, and you don't want to know what they're watching. It was 2 a.m. I was performing my routine check of the main plaza. The cheerful, oversized fiberglass statue of Barnaby the Bear, perpetually frozen mid-wave, usually faced the park gates. Tonight, his head was subtly, unnervingly turned. His unblinking, painted eyes were fixed on the entrance to the Thrills and Spills slide complex, a darkened maw of twisted plastic tubes. It wasn't a drastic shift, but it was wrong. A cold prickle ran down my spine. Against Guideline 2, a morbid curiosity, a flicker of my old lifeguard instincts, compelled me. I needed to see what he was looking at. I slowly approached the slide complex, my flashlight beam cutting through the oppressive shadows. The entrance was dark, silent, but a faint, rhythmic drip, 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 echoed from deep within its coils, a sound that was too slow, too heavy to be mere condensation. As I neared the entrance, the corporate synth music, usually a muffled background hum, seemed to swell, then stutter, a discordant broken melody, like a warped children's song. I shone my light inside. Nothing, just the slick, dark plastic. But as I pulled back, I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye. A faint, almost transparent ripple. A disturbance in the air where there should have been none, drifting from the slide's mouth towards Barnaby. When I looked back at the mascot, his head had returned to its original position, facing the main entrance. But his plastic smile seemed wider, almost predatory. I swore a faint, wet stain, like a teardrop, glistened on his cheek. The park was alive, and it was collecting.
For the exhilaration of our guests, the wave pool operates on a meticulously timed hourly cycle, generating waves of varying intensity. Guideline number 3 states, never, for any reason, enter the wave pool during the silent swell period, which occurs precisely at the top of each hour when wave generation temporarily ceases. This phase is crucial for system calibration and water purification.
Ms. Hayes's clarification. This is when it collects. When the water gets still, it gets hungry. It likes to draw in what's floating free. My heart pounded like a drum. The silent swell. I had seen it. The unnatural calm that descended upon the wave pool at the top of the hour. The water, usually a churning maelstrom of manufactured fun, would become unnervingly placid, a vast, still sheet of murky blue. I used to think it was just a technical pause. Now, after Barnaby's watchful gaze and the lazy river's silent invitation, I knew better. I was performing a perimeter check around the wave pool. It was 5 minutes to 2 a.m. The waves were still crashing, a relentless roaring surge. But among the synthetic foam and chlorine scent, I caught a new smell. Something organic, something sickly sweet, like decaying blossoms. I saw it then. A small, intricately carved wooden boat, barely 6 inches long, tossed on the crest of a receding wave. It looked like a child's toy, but its craftsmanship was too fine, too ancient. It looked eerily similar to a description I'd once read in Ms. Hayes' notes about offerings found near the deep end of the wave pool. Against Guideline 3, a desperate urge, a new kind of curiosity, overwhelmed me. The boat was heading towards the deep end, towards the churning vortex of the wave generator. If I didn't retrieve it now, it would be lost. And something about its fragile, delicate form, its strange familiarity, tugged at something deep within me. I remembered Ms. Hayes's chilling words. It likes to draw in what's floating free. I knew the silent swell was imminent. I calculated the risk. I could retrieve the boat before the waves ceased. With a surge of adrenaline, I jumped into the wave pool, the chlorinated water shocking my system. I swam against the current, my muscles burning, reaching for the small wooden boat. As my fingers closed around it, the water around me stilled. The roar of the waves died abruptly. Silence, the silent swell. It was 2 a.m. The water became unnervingly flat, a perfect, glassy surface, but beneath it, a faint emerald glow pulsed from the deep end, growing brighter. And then I saw the faces, hundreds of them, faint, ethereal, swirling just beneath the surface, pressed against the glass bottom of the pool. Children, teenagers, adults. Their expressions were not of terror, but of blissful, serene contentment. Their eyes, wide and unblinking, were fixed on me. They were not screaming. They were smiling, and they were beckoning. Join us. Forever fun, no more worries. I thrashed, scrambling towards the edge, the small wooden boat clutched in my hand. The faces pressed closer, their silent smiles growing wider. I could feel their presence, a magnetic pull trying to draw me down to make me one of them. I reached the edge, pulling myself out with a desperate lung, with an oof, and stumbled to the cold, wet concrete. I gasped, choking on chlorine and terror. The water remained still, placid, its surface reflecting only the fluorescent lights. The emerald glow faded. The faces vanished. But for a fleeting second, the water itself seemed to sigh, a long drawn-out exhalation of disappointment. I had escaped the silent swell, but I knew its secret now. The water, I realized, wasn't just in the park. It was of the park.
Splash Zone is not responsible for lost or damaged personal property. However, in our commitment to guest satisfaction, Guideline number 4 instructs, if a lost item is retrieved from the deep end of any attraction, particularly the wave pool, do not keep it. Instead, place it promptly in the designated memory pool bin, located at the main Lost and Found facility.
Ms. Hayes's clarification. These items hold fragments of lost guests. To keep them is to keep a piece of their unending fun, and it likes its pieces back. The small wooden boat, clutched in my trembling hand, pulsed with a faint, insistent energy. It was dry now, surprisingly, and etched into its miniature hull was a single, stylized initial, K. My mind raced. K. Could it be Kyle? The teenager who had snuck into the park a week ago? A thrill-seeker looking for late-night adventure, whose friends reported him missing after he bragged about conquering the mega slide after dark? The police had found no trace, just his car, perfectly parked but empty. I knew I had to place it in the memory pool bin as per Guideline 4. But the boat felt strangely warm now, comforting, almost protective. It felt like a tether to Kyle, to the missing. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what happened. I remembered Ms. Hayes's chilling words. It likes to draw in what's floating free. What kind of fun? What kind of unending? Against Guideline 4, I did not take the boat to the memory pool bin. Instead, I took it back to the security office. I placed it on my desk, under the stark glow of the single desk lamp. I began to meticulously examine it. Its craftsmanship was ancient, not modern plastic. Its wood felt like polished bone. As I touched it, a faint hum emanated from the boat, a low, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate in my very bones. Suddenly, the phone on my desk, an old rotary model that rarely rang, shrieked to life. I jumped, my heart hammering. I answered it, my voice hoarse, static. Then a voice, tinny and distant, yet filled with an unbearable, distorted joy. "Cody, this is Kyle. You found my boat. It's so much fun here. Forever fun. We never leave." The voice was young, enthusiastic, yet utterly devoid of genuine emotion. It was like a recording, looped and corrupted. But they miss me. They want me back in the water. They want... "You're fun, too." The line crackled, then went dead. I dropped the receiver, my hands trembling. Kyle, he was here, trapped, and the boat was a conduit, a piece of his unending fun. The park wasn't just collecting bodies, it was collecting joy, and it wanted more.
To prevent the spread of recreational contaminants and maintain optimal water quality, Guideline number 5 strictly prohibits: never drink the water directly from any attraction. Always utilize the designated drinking fountains located throughout the park for hydration needs.
Ms. Hayes' clarification, it's not just chlorine. It makes you want to stay. It makes you forget the outside. It makes you thrive here. My throat felt parched. Kyle's phantom voice still echoed in my ears. The small wooden boat on my desk hummed with an insistent energy. I needed a drink. I knew not to drink from the attractions. I knew it wasn't just chemicals. It was something that bound you, something that made you belong. I reached for my personal water bottle, then hesitated. A sudden, intense image flashed in my mind. A sparkling, crystal-clear stream bubbling from the mouth of Shelley the seahorse, its water sweet, refreshing, intoxicating. An almost overwhelming thirst, not for water, but for oblivion, for endless fun, for peace from the relentless fear, consumed me. The park was calling to me. Its insidious lure stronger than ever. Just a sip, just a taste. Forever fun. Against Guideline 5, I found myself drawn to the nearest attraction. The kiddie splash pad, its shallow pools and gentle fountains looking impossibly inviting. The water, illuminated by the dim park lights, seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence. I knelt, my hands trembling, and cupped a small amount of the water. It smelled faintly of chlorine, but also something else. Something sweet. something like forgotten summer days. I brought it to my lips. As the first drop touched my tongue, a profound sense of warmth, of comfort, washed over me. My fear receded. My anxiety melted away. I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated joy, a childlike bliss that filled every fiber of my being. This wasn't just water. It was distilled happiness. It was the essence of endless summer. I felt my tension drain away, replaced by an overwhelming desire to stay, to float, to be here forever. But then another image, stark and chilling, flashed behind my eyes. Kyle, his face smiling, blissful but his body fading, translucent, becoming one with the smiling faces beneath the wave pool's surface. And Lena, her voice in the static, warning me, it makes you forget your purpose. It makes you a fixture. The happiness was a lie. The joy was a trap. I spat out the water, gagging. The sweetness turned to bitter ash in my mouth. My thirst returned, stronger than before. The childlike bliss shattered, replaced by a cold, searing terror. The park's insidious joy was a corrosive acid, eating away at my will, my identity. I had tasted its lure, and it had tasted me.
The Fun Zone, our brightly lit arcade and entertainment complex, is vital for maintaining guest morale and an atmosphere of perpetual enjoyment. Guideline number 6 mandates: the lights in the Fun Zone must remain on until dawn. If they flicker or turn off, do not manually activate them. Utilize the central override panel located in the main control room for all power adjustments.
Ms. Hayes's clarification. The lights are a beacon. They draw them in. If they go dark, they congregate, and you don't want them congregating in the dark. My senses reeled. The park's joy was a poison. Kyle's boat hummed on my desk. Lena's voice warned me from the static. I was losing my grip on reality, my fear battling the seductive pull of the park's eternal summer. I needed a focal point, a single mission to anchor myself. Kyle. I had to find Kyle. The Fun Zone, the arcade, the brightly lit heart of the park, was where all lost things eventually congregated. It was 3 a.m. I was in the main plaza trying to process the overwhelming sensory input, the phantom giggles, the subtle undulations of the ground beneath my feet, when the Fun Zone lights flickered once, twice. Then they died, plunging the entire central area of the park into an oppressive, cavernous darkness. My heart hammered. This wasn't a power outage. This was deliberate, a congregation, a lure for Kyle, for me, for anyone lost enough to enter the darkness. The corporate synth music, which had been attempting to reassert its cheer, now devolved into a slow, grinding drone, like a broken record playing backwards. Against Guideline 6, a desperate, reckless idea formed in my mind. I would not use the central override. I would not restore the lights. Instead, I would enter the darkness. I would find Kyle. I would disrupt their fun. I approached the Fun Zone, my flashlight beam a trembling spear in the vast darkness. The silence inside was profound, broken only by the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of the distant wave pool, now a monstrous heartbeat. I walked past rows of darkened arcade machines, their screens reflecting my distorted face. I felt eyes on me, hundreds of them, from the shadows, from the empty spaces where smiling plastic characters usually beckoned. Then I saw him, in the very center of the Fun Zone, huddled beneath the motionless, unblinking eyes of a giant, faded Barnaby the Bear arcade machine, was Kyle. He wasn't alone. Other figures, translucent and shimmering, were gathered around him. Teenagers, families, children, all unmoving, their eyes wide and vacant, fixed on a giant unlit screen. They were holding hands, forming a silent, unbroken circle. Kyle's face, illuminated by the faint glow of the wooden boat he held, was blissful, serene. He was smiling, a terrible, unsettling smile of pure, unending fun. "Cody!" I shouted, my voice raw, breaking the profound silence. "Kyle, you have to leave. This isn't real." He turned, his movements slow, deliberate. His eyes, once alive with youthful mischief, were now vast, empty pools of still chlorinated water. They held the same serene, terrifying contentment as the faces beneath the wave pool. "Cody," he whispered, his voice layered with countless echoes, a chorus of distorted joy. "You found us. We're having so much fun, forever fun. Join us. No more worries." He held out his hand, the small wooden boat now glowing with a faint emerald light. The figures around him began to stir, their silent smiles growing wider. The darkness around them seemed to deepen, to solidify, to breathe. The entire fun zone throbbed with a slow, rhythmic pulse. I felt their collective joy, an overwhelming, seductive wave trying to wash away my fear, my identity, my very purpose. It was the purest form of happiness, distilled and weaponized. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. The park wasn't a place of fun. It was a place of consumption. It fed on joy, on leisure, on the desire for things to never end, and Kyle and all the others were its eternal guests, its offerings. I didn't run. I couldn't. The profound joy, the seductive peace, was too strong. It wanted me, it wanted my fear, it wanted my struggle, it wanted my purpose. I closed my eyes, fighting against the overwhelming euphoria, the sweet, cloying scent of chlorine and forgotten summer. When I opened them again, the fun zone was silent. The figures, including Kyle, were gone. The colossal Barnaby arcade machine loomed over me, its plastic smile wider than before. I was alone, but I wasn't. I am Cody Miller, and I am not a lifeguard anymore. I am not an attendant. I am the park's chronicler, its unwilling witness. I am the echo of its rules, spoken in the chlorine-scented air. I walk its empty paths, forever cleaning, forever patrolling, forever vigilant. My hands still tremble, but now it is not from fear of the deep. It is from the constant effort to resist the park's pervasive, eternal joy. I could not save Kyle. I could not break the cycle. The park had its way. But I did not join them. I did not become one of the smiling faces beneath the water. I became something else. Its voice, its silent warning. Every night, I meticulously follow the rules, not to protect myself, but to maintain a fragile balance. I divert the unsuspecting, the truly lost, away from its most insidious traps. I nudge the stray beach balls back into the lazy river, not to return them to the park, but to keep them from collecting new pieces. I force the mascots to face the main entrance, a desperate attempt to keep their gaze fixed outwards, away from what lies within. I do not clean the same surface for more than 5 minutes, always shifting, always moving, a constant small disruption against its desire for stillness. I reset the wave pool during the silent swell, hoping to break the rhythm of its collection, and the small wooden boat, Kyle's boat, rests on my desk. It pulses faintly, a reminder, a warning, a promise. The splash zone still beckons. Its neon lights promise endless fun. its water whispers of eternal leisure. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I see them. The other attendants, the ones who came before, Ms. Lena Hayes, her eyes wide and joyous, perpetually scrubbing the floor, the security guards, their faces serene, floating face down in the deep end. They are still here, forever fun, no more worries. And I am the one who remembers, the one who knows. I am the park's living counterpoint, its eternal unease. Trapped, yes, but not blissful. Aware, forever watching, forever warning.